Valentine's Day this year, McKenna's teacher offered the kids a chance to get some extra credit points on a grade that may have dropped. And although McKenna is a straight A student, we thought we'd go for it anyway. So the assignment was to create a Valentine's box that thematically matched something that they had studied this year. So McKenna, why don't you tell them what we chose?
We chose non-flowering and flowering plants.
Mm-hmm.
And the ferns are the non-flowering plants.
And how do they reproduce?
They use spores.
Spores. I did not know that. So there you go. And what else did we choose?
We chose the flowering plants as the origami tulips and the roses.
Mm-hmm.
And they reproduce by seeds.
By seeds, yeah. So then that inspired us to create a garden. McKenna chose the roses and the tulips as the flowers she wanted to learn to make. And we watched a lot of YouTube tutorials and came up with what we think is quite the masterpiece. We're quite proud of it. So in this video, you'll see the different steps we took to create McKenna's love garden. Okay, while McKenna works on the tulips, I've been making the box, and I just got, this is all we had at the house, really big box. So what I did was just take a box knife and cut the top off, and then I measured up 6 inches and drew a line, and I scored, just lightly cut along that line on all 4 sides. Then I'm cutting down the corners so that with the scoring, I should be able to fold it over on this scored section like that. There you go. See how it's folding over like this? Because the idea is to make this smaller so it's manageable to take to school, as well as we're going to use the cut off original box top flaps, glue those on to make a really strong base to hold all the flowers for the flower garden. So we'll be back in a minute with the next steps. Now I have heated up the hot glue gun and folded my man-made flaps, I guess you could call them, over one another and hot glued them into place. And I held the bottom one up so that it didn't start to collapse in on itself. So this one will be the last one. Just put a couple drops of hot glue in here. Get it to stick down like so. Hold it into place for a minute. And like I said before, we're going to take the leftover box flaps from the original box that we cut, these 4 pieces, and I'm going to start to lay them down to just have a much sturdier, thicker box top somehow. We'll do this. Okay, we'll be back with this next step when I figure out how I want to reinforce the lid. So what I decided to do is we have 4 different sizes, or I guess 2 different sizes of flaps from the original cut of the box. We have this shorter one and these 2 longer ones. And if you look, you can see this is has a little uneven. It's a little shaky there. So I'm just going to take a shorter piece and lay it here and hot glue it down. So I'll just put a little hot glue on the bottom here. Love hot glue. Oops, we need another stick. I wish they made hot glue guns with hot glue tanks on them so I didn't have to always put a stick in. That would be fabulous. So a little more hot glue here. Hot glue, hot glue. And I'm going to lay the flap down, and this makes, now we have another flat, it's level. Okay, so what I've noticed with this is it's a little weak in the center. So in order to just reinforce it a little bit, I'm going to take the 2 longer sides, and I think I'm going to glue them shiny side down so we have this corrugated cardboard on the top, because we're going to start attaching and gluing to the top here. So we'll glue that down and we'll be back with the next steps.
Yay, you did it.
All right, next up on the box, I turned the flaps over to the corrugated cardboard side, hot glued them down. Then I chose a side of the box that didn't have the tape from the bottom of the box, just as for strength and integrity. I drew out a slot to insert valentines, and now I'm cutting that out Then once I get this cut out, we have some brown paper that we're going to cover the whole box in. So that'll be the next step. So we'll be right back to show you that. Okay, so I knew I had this butcher's paper in the closet, but I also found some green wrapping paper. So we changed our design a little bit. I'm going to wrap the butcher's paper around the bottom and then put the green paper on the top. So I'm going to get started on that, and once I get one side done and I know what I'm doing, I'll come back and I'll show you how to do the other side. So while McKenna is finishing up her tulips, we're still working on the box here. So what I did was take this and hot glue it down, and now I'm going to pull it really tight and hot glue this side over here. So I'm going to lay the hot glue down. There we go, real quick. Pull the paper tight like I'm wrapping a gift and lay it down there. Okay, so that's the first phase. So now McKenna has finished her first tulip top, and now she's working on her leaves. The stem. Are you working on the stem right now? The stem and the leaves. I have cut, the paper was like this, so I cut here down to here on both sides, and the idea is to fold it up, glue it into place, and then I will trim off the edges. I want to have try to get some smooth edges here, so we'll see if we can make that happen. Okay, next step. So now what I've done is cut a little excess so that it actually covers the corner of the box here, and I'm going to glue that down with some hot glue. Again, our best friend, hot glue. Glue that down. I'm just going to fold it over as smoothly as I can. And this doesn't matter here because that's going to be covered by the green paper, but I'm going to trim this off just a little bit. Then we're going to do the other two corners here, and we'll be back to show you how to do the top. So the next step is to cut out the hole that is here on this side, and much to my chagrin, I ended up having the tabs folded over on this side. So we're going to have to get creative instead of, you know, the smooth side here. But this is where the tab is to insert the valentines. So I will come up with some sort of decorative embellishment to cover my mistake. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is take my box knife and cut what feels like down the center of the paper here, because I'm going to just flap it over here so that you can see, so that the paper will cover the edge of the box. Let's see, where's my edge there? Bring it to the edge of the table, make it a little easier. And we'll pull this to the edge of the table, find our spot, and here we go. Down. Now what I'm going to do is just glue these flaps over like this and make it look a little smooth. So I'll pull this out, put a little glue on the side here. A dollop will do ya. And pull it over that way. Pull this one out a bit. Put a tiny bit of glue on here. Hot glue is your best friend, people, I'm telling you. And doing props in theater, working in theater in college, I made everything I could out of hot glue, I tell you what. Okay, so now we've got the slot for Valentine's and for treats that she'll get at the Valentine's party. So the next step is to put the green wrapping paper that I found among all my papers, and it's shiny, and that's okay because we have some other things to put on top that I'll show you in a little while. So now I'm going to put the green paper on top while McKenna continues to make her beautiful tulips, and we'll be back with the next step. So for this next step, I've covered the top with the green gift wrap. I've left it shorter in the front than I have on the side, and I have some curling scissors here that we're going to cut along the edge to give it a little bit of a scalloped edge. And the idea here is that it looks like grass. So I'm going to continue cutting all the way around and then glue it down, and then we'll be back with our next step. So here we have the finished front with the grass on the top and the sides, and this will be the base for the garden. And the next step for us is to finish making the flowers, and then we will start decorating the box. We'll be right back. are the supplies we'll be using to create our Valentine's garden box. We have construction paper, of course, that we're using to make the flowers and the leaves, which we're making tulips, roses, and ferns, which are different types of plants McKenna will tell us about. We found some hot glue sticks that are glittery that we'll use to decorate the box. We have some pearl trim that we'll use. We have some heart picks that can be placed in among the flowers. I'm going to need a toilet paper roll for the ferns, and we'll show you how to do the ferns with the toilet paper roll later on in the video. We'll also need some reindeer moss. We're using chenilles, the green ones, for vines. We found some pearl stickers, which will be nice to decorate around the edge of the box, and some butterfly picks that we'll also use in the garden. So these are the supplies in addition to hot glue as well as school glue, scissors, and scallop scissors. And of course, for the box, you will need a box knife. So McKenna's working on the petals of the tulip by rolling down the paper on a pencil.
It actually works!
So we made the tulips by watching an origami tulip video on YouTube.
It's WikiHow.
WikiHow, that's what we're looking at. WikiHow, excellent. So what phase are you on now, McKenna?
I'm on the stem phase where I'm putting it into the tulip.
Okay, let's see how that works.
So we had a piece of paper like this from the excess from this, and we had to put it on a piece of green paper and kind of outline it, and then you cut that piece out, and then you can fold it 3 times. So you fold it this time and 3 times, and then what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to insert the stem into there like that.
Ta-da!
And
awesome.
hello, I'm going to be showing you how to make the tulip leaf, the tulip leaf. And what you'll need for this is you'll need a shape of green paper. It could be lighter or darker or the same color. And it needs to be a shape like this. And what you'll need is school glue or glue, any kind of glue, a pencil, and your tulip. So what we're going to start off with is we are going to be starting off with the little leaf. Now what you'll need for the leaf is we're going to be pushing the paper over and to like this, so it's curled. And then we're going to fold it in half. Or you could do it after, because I forgot to do it after. But you do it after I was skipping ahead. And then you take glue and you put a whole bunch, but not right at the bottom. Because if it was right at the bottom, it would just make a big mess. There. So about that much. And you'll want to fold in your stem closer together so it could fit to your tulip, and you'll want to put it in the side opposite, and you'll fold it on top. And you'll just want to hold it there for a while until it dries, and then you'll have a perfect tulip stem. Here's a finished one. It would look like this with the curled stem and the glue together, and this is what it would look like. Now we will be showing you more flowers and tutorials how to do the flower. So it's not the end.
So we're back to show you how we're making our roses. We have some beautiful little roses for our rose garden. And we've cut out a couple of different sizes of circles. And what do we do next?
So we take one of our circles. I'm going to do a big one or a medium one. And you can draw your circle or you can just eyeball it. And you draw
doing a spiral, cutting a spiral.
Cutting out a spiral.
In the circle.
And so...
Making it a little bigger, wider sort of petals as you go into the middle here.
Uh-huh. Oh, it fell.
Okay. Then you have your spiral. You start with the small end and you start rolling it.
It starts tiny and then it gets bigger once you get to the bigger sides.
Yeah, this is the tricky part. Getting it to start to roll in is tricky here. Also, we learned how to do this by watching videos on YouTube.
Yeah,
a wonderful place to learn
how to do origami.
Learn how to do origami and arts and crafts, and so we just pull our resources by seeing what items we have at home. For this project, we did have to buy construction paper. Normally we have a lot of construction paper around the house.
But it was all cut.
It was all cut up and we needed some big whole pieces. So we had to buy construction paper for this, which is good because we'll have a big 500 pack of construction paper we can use for other art projects. And we had that pearl trim I showed you early on. We had that already at the house. We had the heart picks from a previous Valentine's. We bought the butterflies, we bought the little stickers, and we bought the floss. The moss, not floss. Okay, when you get to the end, once you have it rolled up, you use the end to be the bottom of your flower, so you roll it as tight as you can get. And then, before I glue the bottom, I let the flower unravel a little bit to roll it to, it kind of unravels, you can see. As it starts to unravel, it makes a pretty little rose. And you can let it unravel as big as you want. So you can make different phases of growth for the rose.
And then you can take, our trusty hot glue gun.
Yeah, I'll show you here. We're going to use a bit of hot glue. Yeah, you can use school glue because...
Parent supervision when we do this because it might burn you.
That's exactly right. Now I'm out of hot glue, so we need a stick of hot glue. So I'll take just a tab of hot glue on the bottom here, fold it over and press it down so it catches all those rolls there. Okay, whispering doesn't do any good. You might as well. And look. A beautiful little paper rose. Yeah, so these are going to be... Oh, you need some hot glue?
Yeah.
So we'll put... Have you opened it up as much as you wanted to open up?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll put a little bit of hot glue on the bottom, stick the bottom here, and sometimes we end up with this extra around the edge. So what I like to do is take just a dab of hot glue. You know, sometimes roses, when they open up, they have this petal that... sort of sticks out a little bit, so we'll just put a little dab there on the side, and then I just roll that in, which gives it extra petalness. Right?
Yes. And we bought most of this at the Dollar Tree.
Dollar store.
Dollar Tree. And if you can find the Dollar Tree near you, Dollar Store,
not the Dollar Tree,
not
the Dollar Store.
The Dollar Store.
Difference there.
Yeah. And you go into the arts and crafts section, you can find some construction paper, and you just grab a ton, and then you look for the whites, the red, well, any color. It could be any color, but we did Valentine's ones because it's going to be for a Valentine's box.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! That's how we make paper roses.
So we're going to go ahead and finish up our paper roses, and when we come back, we're going to make ferns. And we also watched a tutorial on YouTube on how to make ferns. Why are we doing ferns, McKenna?
Because ferns makes... Science lesson! Ferns make spores.
Yes.
And we learned about non-flowering plants and flowering plants. And so I chose roses and tulips because I thought those were the most romantic flowers.
And they're flowering plants, and they produce seeds. And then we chose ferns because they reproduce how?
They reproduce spores.
With spores, which is interesting. I didn't know that. Learned something new. So we'll be back with our next phase, which will be making the ferns. Now we'll show you how we made the ferns. You're going to need a piece of construction paper, which I have folded in half and folded in half again, and then just drew the shape of the leaf that we wanted. Now, while I show you how to make the base for the ferns, they're not really ferns, I guess, but this plant here, I show you how we made the base for those. McKenna is going to cut these out and then draw some veins on them. So you can get started on that, kiddo. Now, for the base, I took a toilet paper roll and I cut it in half. Now what I'm going to do is take the scissors and I'm going to cut about halfway in 4 spots to make little tabs to glue down on the box here. So once we get those tabs cut in, then I just folded the tabs over here, which make a little pot almost for the plant. So fold the tabs in like this. The bottom looks like this. And then I'm going to take the hot glue gun and I'm going to glue it down in place. I'm going to start with this one, a little tab of glue here, which we're using red glitter glue because that's what's in the gun right now. Right? You can't really take it out once it's in there. And turn it, put a little tab under here to secure that. Hold it in place till the glue dries for a couple seconds. And I'll put a little tab of glue under here.
And that's what it looks like.
And here's one of the leaves that McKenna has made. There's 2 in there. We're only making 4 leaves to show you in the demonstration. So you're going to finish those up real quick. I'm going to hold this into place. So we have just a little cup. And I'll show you how we're going to use the cup to make a fern. And again, we saw this on a YouTube tutorial. We learned how to make everything in our beautiful flower garden on the YouTube tutorial.
YouTube, a place where you can learn about making stuff.
That's right. It's a fabulous place. I don't know what I ever did before YouTube, because I had to rely on my own creativity.
Or books.
Or books. That's right. So we've got our little cup. We're working on the leaves, and I'll start while McKenna finishes. What we're going to do is on the back of the leaf here on the bottom, I'm going to put a tiny bit of hot glue because the leaves are going to be placed in the cup like this, and I'll show you how we're going to place them. So I'll just put just a tiny strand of hot glue and place one leaf here in the cup. We got another one done, so I'll put a tiny little strand on the back here of hot glue and put that here, and then we'll have one more. McKenna's finishing up for me there. Put another little strand of hot glue, and this is how I started off with the base. So you can see we have the 3 leaves here. Now these 3 leaves, we put 8 leaves in each of our plants, but what we'll do is curl these leaves back to give it a more natural look. And I have a pencil or a hot glue stick or really just anything, and you're just going to take it and start curling the leaf back like this, so it gives it this kind of a look here. And do one more, maybe a little further down, because they're not all going to be the same. And I kind of play around with them to give them a little more natural shape there. We'll leave this one standing up. We'll just curl the end a tiny bit, just to give it a little bit of a bend. And we'll put this last one in, and again, we used 8, so they look full. You can use as many as you like. And we'll put another one in the cup right down here. You want to try to keep them standing up straight. That's the problem I ran into yesterday, to keep the leaves straight. There we go. So now we have, not too straight, but we have our other leaf here, and roll it back and down. and you keep going, fill it up. And what I did was put some hot glue on the bottom and just glue it to the base of the box like that, and voila, you have a little plant. Now we're working on our vines. For the vines we're going to need some chenilles, and we cut out 3 different templates for the leaves. These are for our roses, these 2 sizes, and this size will be for our vines, which will also be used for the roses as well. So while McKenna starts stringing the leaves onto the vines, I'll show you. We have a big stack of them here. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of cardboard and a box knife, and I'm just going to make 2 little slices right next to each other. And then what we'll do, just like McKenna's doing here, is you take the leaf and just run the chenille right through it like this. I'm going to put it through one hole and through the next, and we don't want to go too hard, right? Because then what happens? It breaks. That's all right. Yeah, I don't think I sliced that one yet. Are you out of sliced ones? No, these are sliced. Those 2 are sliced. So you can vary. So once you get the leaves on here, you can see I took a pencil and I curled the chenille around the pencil to make the curly vine. I'm going to put one more leaf on here. Let me slice a leaf, put it on here. So if you're doing this with your mom and dad, make sure your mom or your dad, grown up, does the box knife part.
Because you can cut yourself really bad.
You sure can. Okay, so we're going to slide that through there.
So it would end up like this?
Yeah, it'll look like that, and then we'll just start curving it and pulling the leaves different directions and the vine different directions so it looks, let's see, I want to pull this one down a little closer so it looks more like this, and you can curve out the edge of the leaves a little bit so it looks like this. We have a nice little vine, and we'll use these also to decorate the top of the Valentine's box for our love garden. We're finally ready for the garden building phase of the Valentine's box. McKenna has the
reindeer moss.
So we've got the reindeer moss to fill in the gaps once we put all the flowers down. To decorate the box, we're going to use these pearl stickers, some glitter hot glue. We put these sticks straight in the hot glue gun, which is awesome. We have some pearl trim. That's what we're going to use to decorate the outside of the box. And for the flower garden, we have the origami tulips that McKenna made. We have some vines that we've put the leaves on. We have a couple of extra chenilles in case we need them. And then, of course, we have all our beautiful little roses. We're going to make a little rose garden. We have butterfly picks, some heart picks, and we have these, a stack of just a couple different sizes of leaves to use with the roses. And for our ferns, we have our toilet paper rolls and the 2 different colored leaves that we've cut and colored. And of course we have our Valentine's box that we showed you how to make. And, oh, what are these? What are we going to do with these, McKenna?
Oh, we might put it in the background of the box. And we said that this was just like, it was a fail. But it wasn't, so we're actually going to use it.
That's
right.
Recycling. Turning that fail into a positive, right?
All right. That's what art is, kids.
That's right. There's no mistakes in art. The origami tulips that McKenna made were pretty top heavy, so we needed them to stand up. And if you remember the beginning of the video when we created the box, there's several layers of cardboard here, so poking a hole down into the top of the cardboard wasn't really going to work. And I wanted some different height levels in the garden so it all wasn't really flat. So what I did was cut apart an egg carton, and this is just one of the little sections. The egg would sit down here. This is the bottom part. I cut it apart, And I made sure to leave some sort of flaps so that I can glue it down to the top of the box. Then I took a small screwdriver and made a starter hole here. Move it a little bit there. So we have a starter hole. Move it around a little bit. Then I took the end of my scissors because the base of the tulip is pretty wide. It's not going to fit in that tiny hole. So then I put the scissor in, the narrow size of the scissor, and just moved it around to make the hole big enough to put the tulip down in. Then we put the stem of the tulip down into the hole. I put hot glue on each one of these tabs as well as the bottom of the tulip, and then stuck it right down onto the box just like that. So that gave the tulip some support that it needed, as well as making a cute little dirt mound. So here we have our finished product, and it's MJ's Love Garden. And you can see in the front we decorated with some hearts that McKenna cut. The sticker pearls we put along the edge here, and then I used a hot glue glitter glue for the lettering, and in retrospect I probably would have done that a little differently. It didn't turn out quite as nice as I would have liked. Maybe sticker letters or something else. I don't know what it was. But as we mentioned before, sometimes our plan designs change as we get into the middle of the craft. And one of the major things that we changed was the use of the reindeer moss. And I'm going to turn this around here and show you what we did differently. Now, the original plan was to take some cardboard and create a little picket fence that would go around the edge of the garden, and then the moss could just sit down in there and we'd glue it down a little bit here and there. But without that picket fence, and we chose not to do the picket fence because the rest of the projects took quite a lot more time than we thought it would.
Yeah, like 2 hours.
Yeah, we ended up spending about 8.5 hours total working on this because essentially it's 4 separate craft products, or craft projects. You have the origami tulips that McKenna made. We had the fern, which is a separate project. The vines, which is a separate project. You can see we've got vines here. And then the roses, which is a whole other project. And that doesn't include actually building the box. So it took a lot more time than we expected to, but it was worth every minute. We had a lot of fun, and we learned a lot of stuff. And like I said, a lot of this stuff we learned on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube.
But back to the little dirt mounds here. So, and then instead of the peat moss to cover up the egg carton, we took the butcher paper like we used to cover the box and crumpled it up a lot, which made it soft and a little crinkly and gave it some texture, and we just glued that around each one of the tulip bases, which made a little mound of dirt. And then also we did that for the fern cups. As you saw, the cups we made a little bit earlier. So all in total, it turned out to be quite lovely, and we're really proud of it. We have the 3 tulips, our butterfly, 2 ferns, a dozen roses, and 3 rose vines with all the leaves that we made too. I don't even know how many leaves we made.
We made like...
A lot.
Yeah, we made more than 12 because...
Oh yeah, because we had 6 for the 2 big roses, and then we probably made 20 or so of the other types of leaves. Yeah, so a lot of cutting, a lot of gluing, but we're really proud of what we came up with. And again, we watched a lot of tutorials on YouTube and took those ideas and created something of our own. So hopefully this gives you some ideas of what you can do in the future with different projects you want to do around the house. And we appreciate you joining us today. We hope you learned something. We had a lot of fun, even though it took us a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
So almost all day. It was a good mommy-daughter day, though. We had a lot of fun. And you learned some origami too, right?
Yeah.
All right, well.
I wanted to learn origami.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll have more projects to come. In fact, there are 2 other Valentine's project videos you should check out for teacher's gift ideas.